Hello, everybody. My name's Shannon Brody. So today is the second of the 7 technical training series. Last week we talked about the 4 key functions over here. And today we're going to talk about the organization chart. And most importantly, we're going to talk about organization strategy. So to access the organization chart, you go all the way to the left-hand side of your your dashboard screen and click where it says organization chart. So this is just an example typical organization chart that you're seeing here now. If you have not created your organization chart yet, you're going to see our template chart, which looks a little similar to this. That will appear. So first I want to talk about just technically how to use the organization chart, so the features and the functionality of it. And then we're going to talk about methodologies for creating a good organization structure. And then I'm going to end with how to use the chart as a planning tool. So how to use it to plan out the growth of your business and to also understand the financial requirements of that growing business and what it will cost you to grow that business to the level that you're looking for, and also how training and the cost of training plays into all of that. So this chart is in departments, and you see that from this upper management row here. So this is the sales and marketing department, this is the operations department or service delivery, and then this is the admin, finance, administration area. The chart also has levels from top to bottom. So typically the board of directors or owners, whatever you want to call this, is here at the top, and then we get to CEO, general manager, president, and then we get to the main departments. So it goes left to right in structure of departments and up and down according to the managerial hierarchy. This organization chart also fits into the structure of the 4 key functions. So over here, if you remember, 4 key functions is guiding the business, getting the business, running, doing. So those are the main 4 key areas of any business. If you had to look at your business as a whole and chop it into 4 parts, these would be the 4 parts. The organization chart demonstrates that as well. So this whole area here, this whole managerial hierarchy from the top to the managerial row is guiding the business. So these positions guide the company. Getting is this department here, so sales and marketing, getting new business in the door. This department here is the doing, so it's the operations, the service delivery, and then this department here is the running. So the 4 key functions are subjects over here, and then when you look at the organization chart, it reflects people. So what positions do that work that is in each of these 4 key areas. So the functionality of the chart is pretty simple. There's 3 little dots inside of every box right here. And if I click these 3 dots, I'm just going to expand this a little bit more. If I click these 3 dots, you see the functionality will appear. So this first toolbar item allows you to edit the title of the position. So whatever position you hit the little 3 dots on, you choose edit, and then it's going to pop open the title that you can change. Also, in the edit position, you're going to see the objective of the position field appear right here. So this is the title of the position, and then this is the purpose of it, the objective of it. You can also add a new box under the box that you've chosen. So any box that I hit these little 3 dots, if I hit add, then a new box will appear right underneath the one that I was on. You can also remove a position. So if I hit the little 3 dots of the position I want to remove, I hit remove. TouchStone's going to give you a warning up here saying, are you sure you want to delete this position? And if you choose OK, then that box or position will be gone. So pretty simple, the functionality. You can just remember to hit the 3 dots inside of the box you want to manipulate or change. You go edit the title, add a new position, or remove. You can also move boxes around the chart just by dragging and dropping. So I'm just holding my mouse click down on this box here, and you can see it kind of shadow moving around. And then if I let go, if I put it on top of the box I want to move it under and let go, then that box is moved underneath the box that I selected. So it's just hold your left mouse click down, drag the box around, put it on top of the position that you want to move it under, and then it floats to that position that you've selected. You can also collapse departments by clicking this little negative sign here. If I choose this negative sign for any one of these departments, then that department disappears. I can even do this, which just shows these 2 boxes. Then if I want them to reappear, I just click the plus again and they'll pop back out. I think this is probably only useful when it comes to printing the org chart, which I'll give you my 2 cents on that here in a second. And if you want to print just a department, then this might be a good way to do it just by hitting the plus or the minus signs. If you want to just focus in on one area, that might be another reason to shrink it down. You can also zoom in and out on the chart. I have a mouse, so I'm just rolling the mouse bar in and out to make it bigger or larger. I can also drag from left to right, so I'm just, again, holding my left mouse click down, and I can move it up and down and around. This little search button right here allows you to search for positions on the chart. So this is only useful if you have a massive organization chart, maybe 100 positions big, and you want to search for a particular position, then you choose that, and TouchStone bleeps it right here to show you where it is. So again, you probably won't use this much unless you do have a really big organization chart. Okay. Some of the features that are coming to the organization chart here soon, I'm thinking maybe in the fall release or maybe even the winter, we're going to allow color coding of the boxes. So you see this little blue line that's right across the top here. You'll be able to change that line color, and then also make the box not white. It could be a different color, and then the text will be a different color. So that's going to be coming soon to the organization chart functionality. When you create boxes on the organization chart, it's always good to make them a position title and not a person's name. So you'll notice my boxes here. This is the manager of marketing and sales. This is advertising, salesperson. So this is a position title and not a person's name. So if you do want the person's name in that box, you can certainly do that, although it's not necessary, and I'll show you why here in a minute. You could put the person's name in there, but always have the position title, because the boxes on in your organization, on your organization chart, represent positions. They don't represent people. If they represent people, then you're in a people-dependent situation with your organization chart, and you always want to be in a position-dependent situation. So you have the position title and then the person's name if you'd like. Over here in account administration, this is where you set up users for your system. So all of these are the employees, all these people here. And if I choose an employee here and I go to give them access to TouchStone, I give them access to a position on the org chart. So TouchStone knows the position that each of these people fill. And when they log in, TouchStone will show them their position. And when a manager logs in, TouchStone's going to show them their employees' names and the positions they fill, like you're seeing here. So it's redundant and sometimes makes your chart look bigger and sloppier if you've got people's names in boxes. So again, that's just my opinion. There's nothing stopping you from putting people's names in, but I just want to point out that TouchStone knows who is in what box and shows that person when they log into TouchStone, also shows their manager. Let's go back here. One thing you definitely don't want to do is you don't want to have multiple boxes on the chart that represent the same position. So if you have 5 salespeople, like in this box here, 5 people who are salespeople, don't have 5 salespersons boxes, salespeople's boxes on the org chart, because it's redundant. You only need one. How TouchStone knows that there's 5 people here, and how you know is you assign those 5 people to this box in account administration, like I just showed you. And then here on the dashboard, if I did have 5 customer service people, I would see all 5 of their names right here. So the long and the short of it is, don't duplicate boxes on the chart if it's actually the same position doing the same work. Okay, so now let's talk about some methodology or ideas on how to build good organization strategy. This, I think, is a really important topic, particularly for small businesses, because what happens to most of us is when you start your business, it just starts to grow. And growth to most business people or small business people just means I need bodies to help me do this work. And so you start hiring people. And you typically hire out of desperation or out of what's right in front of you, family, friends, whatever the situation is, and then suddenly you've got a bunch of people. So how that is difficult for a small business to deal with is that if you've got a bunch of people with all different personalities and there's no real structure to what positions those people fill, who their managers are, what department they're in, then you've got this people-dependent chaos that's going on. So the organization chart, it simply can help you to organize that chaos if you're in that situation. And I'm going to explain how and why. What the organization chart does is it gives you structure, and it gives you a position-specific organization and not a people organization. So starting here from the top, usually the top box, we always call it board of directors. You can call this box whatever you'd like it to be. What it is it represents the owners. It represents you as the entrepreneur. So this box, some people want to get rid of it, and I really suggest that you keep it, because the work of the entrepreneur, of the owner, is important work to recognize. Your job as the owner of your company, as the chairman of the board, as the board of directors, is to maximize the value of your asset. So right down below here, this is the asset. All of these positions represent your business as an asset. And all you care about as the owner is to maximize the value of your asset, to increase the dividends, to make it worth more. This is a much different agenda than these people down here have, even the president. And most small business owners have to compartmentalize, wear different hats, and realize that you are the owner, you are the entrepreneur who wants to maximize the value of your asset. You're also the president or the general manager who is managing the key departments within your company in the day-to-day operations. So it's a much different perspective than this up here. So that's my 2 cents on why to keep this position. Below this owners or board of directors position, usually there's president, CEO, general manager, whatever you want to call it. This position is accountable to the board of directors. Their job is to implement and achieve the strategic objective, the strategies, the plans, the vision for the business. And they do that by managing the key departments to get those results. So this president's position is should be the highest level manager and the one who is pushing the strategy, the vision of the business down through each of the departments to get those results. Below the president position, there should be 3, 4 managers, depending on what type of business you're in. There should be a manager representing getting the business, sales and marketing, one representing service, operations, delivery, and then one who is like the overhead, the support department. If you are a business that's smaller and you don't have the money right now to have 3 key managers in place, then you still need those positions represented on your chart. So when you go to attempt to draw out this chart, think about your business in the future. Think about where you're going. So don't let the fact that you don't have the infrastructure in place to have a manager in this department yet stop you from putting this position in. What happens in the current situation is people are filling more than one box on the chart. So you might be this position, this position, this position. If you're a manager in the business, you might be this position and the bookkeeper and the receptionist right now. So whether you're a manager on the line or you are in fact the owner of the company, all of this still applies. You're thinking of the business overall, or you're thinking of your department. So going from left to right here, let's start by talking about the sales and marketing department. So when I said this chart is a picture of the business in the future, in order to think about it that way, you need to imagine your business in the future. So think about a year or 2 years out, where you think your business is going to be at that point in time, and then start building the chart for that picture of the future. A lot of us are having to shrink down right now. So you've laid people off, you're consolidating positions. Not everyone, but a lot of small business owners are in that situation right now. So this organization chart can help you with that thinking as well. So you can think about what are the sales you're likely to have in the next quarter, whether they be much drastically less than what you've normally had or the same or more, and then think about what positions will be necessary in order to achieve those results. So this is going to help you with scaling down or scaling up your business. It's hard as a small business owner not to think of the people. So you have the person who has been filling these roles or the people that are all in this department. But honestly, in desperate times, you really need to think about first what is necessary for this asset to keep going. The human side of all of this is extremely important. I'm not minimizing that. I'm just bringing out the practicality of it, where you may need to look and say, from a numbers point of view, look and see what the capacity is of each of the positions you have and what your income and expenses are likely to be. So here in the sales and marketing department, there are two key things that happen. One is leads are generated, generally through positions like these, and then those leads are converted, generally through positions like these. So lead generation, lead conversion, advertising, and sales. So think about your business's version of this, and then consider what positions are going to be necessary in order to achieve the results. So through advertising, what is the advertising that you're doing? What is the amount of money and manpower that it's going to take to implement those activities and generate those leads, whether it be through social media or internet advertising, direct mail, whatever your version of this is. Think about the amount of money you have to spend, and then what the structure needs to be, what positions you'll need to have. Get creative here and start to think about how can you advertise in a way that doesn't cost a whole lot of money right now. And the key thing that comes to mind around that is social media, internet advertising, as well as pumping your word of mouth and referral. So that's making phone calls to existing customers and trying to get referrals and word of mouth spreading about your business. So as all the leads are coming in here with the positions you've structured there, then you go to sales. So what positions do you need to convert those leads? Depending on the type of advertising you're doing, then think about your sales positions. You see this little technique I've got all throughout this chart where there's an assistant and then the position above, advertising assistant, and then advertising. These are entry-level positions here, and then they move up to higher-level positions here. This is good in organizational planning because you're going to hire from the bottom and then move up. And if you've got processes and systems in place for what the advertising assistant does, then as they learn those and master those and move up to this position, then then they learn the processes for this position. So in the sales and marketing department, think about your advertising budget. Think about how to maximize generating leads from free sources. Think about the positions that are necessary to achieve the results. Then switch your mind to sales. Leads are coming in, qualified leads through good advertising, and then what is the structure for your sales positions need to be? As leads are generated and sales are converted in this department, it's then funneling those sales over here to this department. So in the operations section of your organization chart, you want to think about the infrastructure necessary to have this be able to grow with sales. So one of the key things in any small business, and all of you know this, the key things to managing the growth of business is the balance between sales and operations. It's always the thing. So most small businesses don't have a surplus of money where they can just invest in building out their operations or invest in new advertising campaigns in an unlimited way to test it out. Most of us have to bootstrap to a certain degree. So this balancing of sales and operations becomes really critical. You want to have enough sales coming in over here, enough leads being generated to where when those leads are then put on this department, there's enough trained people here to deliver those on those sales, to complete those projects, to complete those jobs. Every industry has a different example of this, but the premise is the same. As sales come in, you need to have the structure in place here to deliver those sales and deliver on those sales in a profitable way. Profitability is the key here when it comes to operation or service delivery. This is a science to a certain degree. This department here, like if I spend X number of dollars on advertising and I convert those leads at a certain rate, I should expect a certain result. And it's pretty much true if you have processes in place. If you're just winging it with word of mouth and referral, well then that's not as quantifiable. But if you have clear processes in place, it's pretty much a science. So if I take those results from this department and put them onto this department, I need to be able to deliver that product or service in a profitable way. If you don't have your staff trained in your operations department, well then it's unlikely you'll deliver or you'll complete those jobs in a profitable way. So there's a technique to this that you're seeing again here in these levels. So this is the entry-level position. This is the lead position, and this is the senior position. So I have a hierarchy here where I hire people here, then I move them up here, then I move them up here. If I was to take a sale or a project and give it to this person, they probably would not deliver that in a profitable way because they're not thoroughly trained. I could give it to this person and they would probably meet the gross margins because they're a senior. So your ability to train from here to here is paramount to your profitability. Most of us believe just by fallacy that we can just go out and find these people. As my business starts to grow, I'm just going to go hire these senior techs and I'll find them and they'll work. If you've ever said to yourself, nobody can do it the way he does it, nobody does it the way I do it, I can't find good people, everyone's irresponsible, there's no good employees out there. If you've said things like that, it's because you're trying to find this person every time. Sometimes you get lucky and you do find that person, and that perpetuates the fallacy. You can't scale the business this way. You can't increase it and decrease it sometimes when you need to. So this kind of hierarchy here can really help you plan the growth of your business. So the entry-level position has processes on this job description that an apprentice needs to learn. I was going to show you that. There they are. So these are the 5 processes that an apprentice position needs to learn. Once they've learned those processes, then they can move up to lead tech. The lead tech has processes on that job description that they need to learn. When they've mastered these and these, then they're the senior tech. It takes time to grow from here to here to here. So your understanding of how much time is the answer to the question on what's it going to cost you to grow. I mean, it really is. So over here, this is a mathematical calculation, and this also is if you've got the processes in place. So think about your version of this with your operational department. Think about what the structure needs to be so that you can manage and grow your own talent from within. So you can go and hire an entry-level person, maybe with not a whole lot of experience or qualifications, hire them at a lower rate, and then train them and move them up to the senior position. This is all about your ability to control your cost of goods sold. If this is a mess, all of this, your delivery of your services or products is not profitable, it doesn't matter how many sales you get. You could have the best year ever. You could increase your revenue by 50, 100, 200%. And if you're not able to deliver within the costs, within your cost of sales, you'll never make any more money. This is why sometimes people who don't know this will look at a P&L for the year and say, man, we had the best year ever. Where'd all the money go? Why do we not have any money left over? Where is it? Well, it's here. Cost overruns, it's problems, it's materials, it's inefficiencies, it's lack of productivity, it's all of this. Now over here to the finance admin area. This is the support department, all of these positions. What happens in support is those positions and that work supports the rest of the company. So this customer service position, it could be here, or it could also be here under operations. Sometimes I've even seen it over here. So don't let this position throw you. It could be in any one of these departments, depending on what kind of industry you're in and where the workflow fits the best. So in the admin finance department, there are key things that need to happen. One, the money needs to be counted. You need to have a good accounting system. You need to have on-time financial records. You need to have productivity reporting. You need to have cost expenses, profitability analysis. All of this needs to happen by the simple counting of the numbers, and it needs to be timely. So if you have any hope for any of this to be efficient over here, then this needs to happen. These people can't be wondering what their sales were for the month or the quarter or the day, or how many hours this person worked on what particular job, or how much inventory came into the warehouse and what that costs. These people can't be worried about that. To the degree that they're worried about that and they don't know those numbers is to the degree that they're not income producing. So don't underestimate the value of good numbers, good analysis, good reporting. There also needs to be human resources happening over here. So good recruiting and hiring, firing of people, evaluating of people, onboarding, policy regulation. So simple HR processes, a lot of which we have in our library already to download and edit and use. Very basic things that if you need to have in place, and you only know it's a problem when you get in trouble for not having it in place. And then you think back, damn it, that was a mistake. So basic good human resources. The better you can do at recruiting and hiring, just to isolate that for a moment, the more profitable and more successful your business is going to be in the end. There's some staggering statistics on the cost of a poor hire. It's something like twice their annual salary. So you're wasting a lot of money by not hiring well, not doing proper vetting. So that's work that happens here. And then just simple office things, answering the phone, taking messages, filing, computer cleaning, having all of the records and information accessible. So stuff like that is just, basic Office 101. But again, what it does is it makes these people more efficient. So think about what your version of all of this is. If you haven't done your organization chart yet, I really recommend that you do it. Think about your business in the future. Think about your A and B version of your organization chart. If your business is having to shrink right now, or you're growing for whatever reason, think about your best case scenario and your worst case scenario. Imagine your business a year from now. Plan for the future. Think about, what are my sales going to be in a year, whether that be a good number or a number that you're not happy with but is the reality. Then build the chart as a picture of that business in the future. Put in future positions. Think about the structure of each department. Let go of people and personalities that you may have in your mind currently. So if you've got certain employees that are doing certain things and people you depend on, just erase that from your mind for a second and do this entrepreneurial exercise where you're asking yourself, what is the best structure for my business? If you had to draw this anew, how would you create it? What positions would you have? And then once you've got that future vision laid out in a structure like this, then think to yourself, okay, how do I lay over what's happening now? So let's talk about that for a minute. So if you have a built out plan for your organization chart like this one, say, then start to think about the actual employees that you have currently and how they fit into the chart. So don't make the chart work for them. Make them work for the chart. Don't make the chart work for those people and personalities and everything going on now. Make those positions, those people fit into the chart. That's the difference. A lot of times if we need a salesperson in a small business over here, well, if I just had someone who phone calls or do this work, that would be great. Let's hire Bob to come in to do that. So we hire Bob, and he was maybe a friend of your brother's sister, and here's Bob. He seems like he's a great sales guy. Well, the actuality is when Bob starts to work in the sales position, a bunch of customer service issues start coming up, and so you're like, hey, Bob, can you just handle this customer service stuff over here because we really need someone to do that, and then get back to your sales stuff later. And, oh, yeah, we never really got good with social media, so would you try to do some of this over here while you're still doing this? And suddenly what happens is Bob is spanning the organization chart. He's being the best employee you ever had. He's multitasking. He's jumping around. He's a yes man. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. He may make mistakes, but he figures it out. And suddenly he's invaluable to you because he's doing all this different work. And then you say to yourself, wow, man, Bob is so great. Let's make him the manager. And then he can deal with these people down here in addition to all the other stuff that he's doing because he's such a great leader. Well, now you've got Bob, who's this wonderful employee, and he is impossible to replace. In fact, he's incredibly inefficient at everything that he's doing because nobody can be doing all of that in an effective way. He's probably never been a manager before and doesn't really know how to be a manager, so he's kind of messing the situation up with these employees. He's doing his best, but he just isn't that great of a manager in the end. And so this guy down here has to come and fill in to help with these people because they're complaining about Bob and they're going up to you or someone else because Bob's not, giving them what they need. So let's do this in a different way. You have your organization chart. You build the job descriptions for all the positions on the chart. So you list out the work that each of these positions should be doing. And then you say, okay, we have Bob. He's a salesperson. He's also really important to customer support, so we're going to have him in this box too. And he's also doing advertising. So he's literally filling this box, and this box. He hasn't been great at the managerial position, so let's not put him in this box for now. Let's have him be sales, advertising, and customer support. The president's going to fill in temporarily to this box. So by doing this, using the chart, so taking Bob and making him fit into the chart, rather than having 4 boxes and calling them Bob, you now have Bob who's fitting into 4 boxes or 3 boxes. Now, it's going to be a relief for him because for the first time ever, he's got a clear list of what he's accountable for here, clear what he's accountable for here and here. These people down in this department aren't a mess themselves because of bad management, because now they know who their manager is, and it's this person temporarily until someone new is brought in. No one has that question, who do I go to, who's my manager? They know exactly who their manager is. Bob's not scrambling around trying to have his finger in everything, doing everything, because it's now clear to him for the first time, this is his role, this is his role, and this is his role. So take your people and fit them into the boxes for what they're doing. If you have an employee like the Bob scenario, and he's here and here and here, because of the principles of organizational design, organizational theory, and there are like doctorate degrees on this subject, one of the basic principles is the lack of uniformity creates chaos, the lack of uniformity of work. So if you have a person whose agenda is to generate leads and to convert those leads, there's a certain mindset of people who are good at that. And good processes help, but there's a mindset to that. And there's also a results-driven mindset around it. It's a much different mindset than what happens for customer support, definitely for bookkeeping, for reception, for warehouse. In the warehouse, we're organizing things, we're putting things in certain places. We're not generating leads and converting leads. So think this is organizational design. So if you have a position who's spanning the organization, then think about pulling them back into one department, and that will increase your productivity tenfold. So have uniformity of work and have people who are only accountable for that type of result. This will help with recruiting and hiring, because you're going to hire people with certain skills that fit with this department or fit with this department. So if you have a person spanning the organization chart, have a plan to pull them back into one department. And you can do that by putting a hiring goal for customer support, documenting the processes for this position, and then when the money is there, hiring this position, taking Bob out of this role and moving him over here. In addition, never have two people responsible for one position. So like this scenario where we had Bob as the manager of marketing and sales, and because he was not doing that well all the time or didn't have the time to do that, this person was also the manager of marketing and sales, and no one really knew who the manager was. If you have that situation, rectify that right away. Make one person each position, just because of the simple fact that if more than one person is accountable, then nobody is accountable. Pull one position back or promote one position up, whatever makes the most sense for the skills of that person, and have one person in this role. If you have promoted someone beyond their capabilities, then my suggestion is to pull them back into the role underneath, document the processes for management here, document the basics of how to be a manager, and then promote them up and train them in this role. That's the best way to do it. So think about how your current situation, your current employees fit into this model, into this organizational strategy for the future. Going forward, every box on the chart that needs to be filled is either a part-time role, a future position, or someone filling multiple boxes. Create a plan for hiring that position in. So think about quarters of a year. I think that's the best way to do it. So you can even put the quarters of the year in the titles here. So if I wanted to hire a lead tech, I could say Q4 2020 right into the title there. So then I know Q4 2020, I'm going to hire this position. If it's above this position, well, I know I probably need to do the apprentice tech first, and then if it takes this person a month to get from here to here, well, then I know when this position will be filled, and then I know when these will be filled. So you're taking the balancing act of sales and marketing and operations, and you're trying to look at it for the first time. You're trying to plan for it, this balancing of getting new business and then servicing that business. the balancing act of having these people trained and ready to go and then having enough sales. It's the biggest issue. It's one of the primary reasons that most small businesses fail, honestly, because they can't get this balancing act. Either they have too many sales and not enough skilled people, and they're losing money because of cost of goods sold, or it's the opposite. They've got a bunch of people sitting here waiting for work. They're hiring ahead of the curve, and they don't have the sales. So this structure, first of all, it helps for making sure that this department is growing and scaling. But having these future hire dates can help you plan out the numbers. So if I know I want to hire or have 4 senior techs by Q4 of 2020, well, I then have to spend money on advertising here, and it has to convert at a certain rate to know that I'm going to have enough sales to hire these people at that point in time. So that's how the organization chart can help you plan growth. And for a lot of us right now who are having to shrink down, this can apply in reverse. So think about the present situation with this future result. Put hiring dates in for positions in the future. Put people's names in boxes for the work that they're doing now. Think about your entry level to your senior, to your lead, to your senior position. So I want to talk about 2 processes from our process library that are really helpful for organizational structure and design like this. Hopefully all of you can see that TouchStone is ideal for planning and managing a business this way, in the way that I'm describing, because all the tools are right here in front of you. But there are 2 tools from the process library that I think are useful. And then I'm going to end with showing you on the dashboard here how you can get these training results that I was talking about here, where you train this person, and then you train leads up to this person. So over here in the process library, the first process is here under guiding the business, and it's just called strategic planning. So strategic planning is a process that is essential to building a good organization strategy. And then there's the second process I'm going to show you, which is in running, and it's called budgeting or financial planning. If anyone was to ask me what are 3 key strategic management tools for my business, I would say organization strategy first, strategic planning or having a vision or a plan, and financial planning. Those 3 are critical. They're the foundation of any business plan, and they are the foundation of any profitable business, honestly. So strategic planning came from the library right here, to the library general processes, and you can download this called strategic planning. It's really simple. So there are all these work plans in here, which are tools to help you develop your strategic plan. If you've never done that before, there's a video, there's a creating a vision. If all of this confuses you, simply set it aside and go right here to this custom form called strategic target questions. These are questions that kind of prompt your thinking of what you need in a strategic plan. Setting all that aside, if this is just too much, then get a Word document out and just start writing out your vision for your future. What are the key elements that you want to grow in your business? What are your sales going to be? What are your expenses going to be? What are your services going to be? Just draw it out for a year. There's a couple documents in here that I think are really useful too. So this is called annual priorities. If your business is suffering right now, this simple exercise, I think, is one thing that can give you peace of mind and help you feel like you're doing something to plan out what may be happening over the next 2 or 3 months. So think about what your annual priorities are going to be. And again, these questions down here can help you with that. So think about what you need to achieve. What are the key things that you need to tackle? Make a list of those things. It could be sales growth. It could be advertising activities. It could be the training or the scaling down of your operations, any of those things, then put them into this form. So these are annual priorities for Q1, Q2, Q3. We're already into Q2, so you can edit and change these just by clicking, and then you open and you can change the dates here. Think about what are your annual priorities for Q2 and list those things out. So up here are everything you need to try to accomplish for the rest of the year, and then you're breaking it down into Q1, 2, 3, which you would start here because we're already in Q2. So they could be things like increased sales, better customer service, higher conversion rate, more leads coming in, better project management, whatever you think the key things to turn your business around and make it more successful. A lot of us are being faced with opportunities to innovate, opportunities to make things different and better to fit the current situation, which are going to be major innovations going forward. A business guru I follow once said that the biggest changes to set industries come from the outside. So the people in that mess can't figure out new ways of doing it. It comes from the outside. So what's happening in the world now is kind of like that because you're being forced to change based on external things. So in a way, it's mixing it up in the same way. You're having to look at something new in a different way and come up with innovations. So this could help you plan all that out. It's just these simple annual priorities. Then you could take this strategic plan here in a sense, and then look at your organization strategy and say, okay, how does this fit with the people, the positions? You need to increase advertising. What processes do these positions need to be doing? So use that strategic plan to help influence your organization strategy. Then it all kind of lays out on paper, oops, the wrong one, by creating a simple budget or a financial plan. So we have this process in the process library called budget creation. This isn't rocket science. Like this stuff you could find on the internet. This puts it all into one place for you. There's some other little techniques here like ratio analysis and break-even analysis. This is important for people. Now there's a budget template. I'm just going to show you this budget template. And again, there's many different versions out this on the internet. You may even be able to export it from your accounting system. Keep it simple. So same as the annual priorities, Q1, 2, 3, 4, just the same as the annual priorities. What do you want to accomplish in Q1? What is your revenue going to need to be? What are the decreases that you're experiencing or the increases? What is the labor expense going to be? This is where the cost of goods sold comes in. What are all of your fixed expenses here that you've got? And then ultimately, what's your net profit going to be? Look at these numbers, even if it's hard. It's not hard for everyone. Many businesses are thriving right now, but even if it's hard, put these numbers in a spreadsheet and take a look at them. Think about your annual priorities. So what are you going to do to influence these numbers? Then fold in the organization chart. If you're going to hire new people, if you're going to start training to grow your operations, if you're going to have an increase in sales, therefore an increase in advertising, lay out all the numbers. In a sense, the organization chart is the picture of the business, and then this is the detail behind it. The numbers tell a story about what's happening. So the numbers show you, in a sense, how your processes, how your workflow is producing. What is it producing? So if you don't look at the numbers, you're missing a big picture. Put in, if you're going to grow and add positions, put in the expense, the fixed expenses here in the salary section, and then see what revenue will have to be in order for that fixed expense for you to be able to hire those people. Think about your growing from within, the apprentice, the lead, the senior. If you add the apprentice, what's that expense going to be? And then if they're a junior in 2 months and then 3 months a senior, plan it out in the numbers right here. Okay, last thing. So this is the dashboard in TouchStone. And what we were looking at through the organization chart and through the 4 key functions, this is where you're structuring and building TouchStone. Here's where people go to use it. So the using of all of this is, it's important, obviously. Planning is great, but the using of it is where you really get the value. So this is a control panel for the manager of admin finance, and through the control panel, this person accesses their processes. If this person's a manager, down in this section here is where they manage their employees and where they keep training information. So there's a lot to all of this, and I'll make it simple and show you a little bit through each session. But what I want to focus on now is this idea over here of training from the bottom up. So if you hire the senior apprentice or apprentice tech, and then you train them in these processes, and then they move here, and then they move here. This can be articulated or planned out by a manager on the dashboard. So if I want to hire a bookkeeper, say, or a customer service person, what I would do is plan out their training. So let's go to Mary here. These are all the processes that Mary needs to learn. These are all the processes on the bookkeeper's job description. So if we were in the apprentice tech position, you would see the processes here. And then you would say, okay, how long should it take a bookkeeper or an apprentice tech to learn all of these processes? That amount of time times what Mary's salary is, times the overhead, managerial overhead for training, that equals the amount of money it's going to cost to hire the bookkeeper. So over here, there's a certain amount of time that it's going to take for an apprentice technician to learn this position. That time, that amount of time times the amount of money that they're earning plus the management time equals the total price of training an apprentice technician. Once they move up here, these number of hours times the actual money is the time it takes for them to become a lead tech, then senior. So you can add all this up, and then you can simply be able to answer the question, what is it going to cost you to hire these positions in? Now you can see why this becomes a magic number because of the balancing act between sales and marketing here and operations, just like we were talking about. If I know how much money it's going to cost me to get 4 senior techs over the next 4 months, or how much time it takes, then I understand the cost of scaling my operations, scaling my service. So let's go back here. So if we go to Mary here, through management review, I could simply create groups, and let's say I decided it's going to take 4 weeks to train the bookkeeper, or 4 weeks to train the service tech. I put in the 4 weeks, and I won't do all 4 just to save time, but you get the idea. So here's week 1, week 2. Then I organize the processes that I want her to learn in week 1, and I want her to learn in week 2. So essentially what I'm saying is, in week 1, I'm going to put this at the top so you see it better. In week 1, she's going to learn these 3 processes. So over the 4 weeks, all of this work is what she needs to learn. So each of these is a certain number of hours in the week. So as the employee goes through and learns these processes, I, as the manager, am tracking their training, tracking the time, and it may be as simple as Mary going in and studying these work plans, watching videos, depends on how good your documentation is right now. It might be a matter of the manager sitting and showing her all of these different things. It might be in an apprentice situation, driving around in a truck with someone, going through each of the items and being taught and shown. But the idea is, over that period of time, the employee is trained. When the manager is happy with the training, they flip this little flag, we'll push these cool little green check marks, and now I know Mary has successfully done what she needed to do in week 1, and it's got a little check mark. Then we go down and she learns the next thing. So planning this out and thinking to yourself, okay, I think an adequate person who has all the qualifications to be a bookkeeper could learn all of this in a month. but then actually tracking it as they go through and learn. Some of it is trial and error to begin with, but once you do this once, you're going to have a whole lot of information on the time and the money that it takes to actually train and grow and develop the different positions from your organization chart. So remember the tools on the dashboard, the envisioning of the business of the future, the creating of your vision, the building of a budget or financial plan, and the actual implementation through the dashboard are all things that help actualize your organization chart. Okay, so I'm just looking at a few questions. You can delete this box. So someone's asking if they can delete this box above. I think all of you heard why I wouldn't do that, but it is really easy. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to delete this box. So all you do is hit these little 3 dots and then you hit remove. And then this board of directors box will disappear. Oh, you're right. I didn't answer that. So someone's asking about printing the chart. There's not a super great kind of one-click-fits-all way of printing. The best way to do it is to get a snipping tool. This is one that I really like. It's called Jing. Up here, Jing is made by Smith Tech, or TechSmith, and this is free. The more robust version of this is called Snagit. Jing is awesome, and I'll be showing more about it when we go through. The free version is really great. It can do screen capture recording that you can upload in the video section of TouchStone, and it does really good screenshots. So you can take your chart like this and take a picture of it, like this, and now I've got this picture and a screenshot. Now I could print this, but if your chart is ginormous, you know, you can't, you just run into printing limitations. But this is, you know, the best version for printing. You can also make your chart small, the words, and then you can go like that and print it. So this, if I'm just going to email this to someone, then this is sufficient completely. If you literally want to print it, then you're going to run into issues just on the limitations of your printer. But this is the best way to get to print. Also remember, if you want to do just one department, you can collapse like that or expand, and then you could take a picture of just this, or you don't even have to collapse and expand. You could just take Jing and, you know, do that, and now you've got a picture of this. Also in Jing, you can make these, you know, really cool arrows, and you can frame things, and it's just way better than you can type in text. The functionality in Jing is just way better than any snipping tool that I've seen in any operating system. So that's printing. Having said that, you know, unless there's a real great reason for printing, there are other options like emailing, simply building people with usernames and passwords over here at Account Administration, having them log in and look at the organization chart. If you give someone restricted access to TouchStone, they won't be able to edit or change anything on the organization chart, but they can simply look at it and see it. So let's see, someone's asking about implementing, I think I understand what you're asking. So when you do a future chart, they're asking about people who might not like any reorganization you've done. I'm gonna call you about this, Tom, so we can talk about it in more detail, but just I think this might be useful for other people in the few seconds we have left here. If you build a future organization chart like this one, and then you put people's names in the boxes for what they're doing, and you've got to take someone out of one box and move them down, this is called a reorganization. So it's a reorganization of your company. And what's going on in the world today, reorganization is necessary. It's an absolute necessity in some situations. So building the organization chart and having a conversation with your people over Zoom, if you can't get together, talk about the reorganization and be frank about it. Show people how how you had to combine positions or how things need to change because of the reorganization. And then give them some hope for the future. This is a reorganization for now, but in the next quarter, in the next year, we're hoping this, and this objectives or priorities happen, and this is our plan going forward. So it's better, I feel like it's better to communicate with people the reality, show them what the reorganization is, and then leave them with some hope for the future by having future hire dates or future positions that will be available or ways that they can grow within the organization. So I think that's a really good topic, and also, you know, something that really will help your people, because these are human beings, and in some situations are suffering right now with the unknown. So showing as the manager of the department or as the business owner that you have a plan and showing them in TouchStone, I think can give people some relief. Next week, we're going to talk about job descriptions. So I'm going to discuss how to build the job description. So every time you click a box on the chart, it takes you to the job description for that position. So I'm going to show you how these are built, the best ways to build them, the best ways to organize them, and then we're also going to talk about how to use these as a management tool. So in my opinion, these types of job descriptions, the ones in TouchStone, are the best management tool that any manager could ever have. If you have managers that haven't started using TouchStone yet, think about having them come to next week's session and see how, or hear me explain how this can be an eye-opening and breakthrough management tool for any manager. If you have employees who aren't doing their normal functions, but you need to keep them busy, think about having them starting to work on building their job descriptions, building their processes in TouchStone, because it's a good use of time, particularly for managers. Having all of this documented and spending time to do that. If you have people who are with available time, have them start working on it. Send us a message through the resource center, and let us know you want help training your employees on how to document the appointment process or how to document public relations. And we can get one-on-one with those employees or in a group for a number of employees. I did this the other day for one of our long-term users that everyone's working from home all of a sudden. Not everyone, but most people. And so they wanted to get that team working on documenting their processes so that they all become more efficient. And so they're spending 2 hours a day or something documenting. By the time this is all over in 2 months, that company is going to have everything documented, which I think is a huge result. So let us know if we can help you with that. Thanks for coming, everybody. I'll talk to you next week.